Hey guys, welcome to episode 2 of Whiskey Business. I'm Evan.
I'm Levi.
And we're going to be doing the low-end whiskies that we talked about last time. We're really excited to get going and hope you guys enjoy.
So we're back for episode 2. We listened to our fans, all 5 or 6 of you out there. We stormed the streets and did some straw polls, and we found out that maybe doing a $400 bottle of whiskey on episode 1, not the best idea that we've ever had.
Fair, we didn't know that at the time. It wasn't until we hit our research phase.
That probably provided the other bit of feedback, maybe do a little bit more research, guys. So with that in mind, we're doing some more budget-conscious whiskies today. So Evan, what have you brought along?
Well, great start. We're going with the Glenlivet Founders Reserve, which is their base expression of the whiskies they make. It's a 40% Speyside whiskey from Scotland. Single malt done in a traditional oak cask and then finished in a first time used American oak cask. So really, really nice sort of stuff there. Really good colours on it as well, like nice and golden, as you can see there. We're really excited to kind of give this a go, and hopefully it's a good place for you guys to start who haven't really started that kind of path down.
Yeah, and I think too, generally speaking, your lower end or your lower price point whiskies will more often than not be blends. So to get a single malt at a lower price point, especially from a well-known distillery, it's a pretty impressive thing. So bottoms up.
Done. Cheers.
Really light on the nose.
Really light on the nose. A little bit of caramel, I want to say, on the nose at that top end.
Yeah, even more when you drink it.
Yeah.
That's quite a sweet whiskey, actually. That's lovely. A little bit of fire on the back end.
A little bit harsh on the back end, I will say. You can see in that base expression where it's kind of not as smooth as some other single malts, but at the same time, it's kind of what you're used to at the end of the day. It's still a really, really nice whiskey. I still think it's something you could drink neat.
Absolutely.
But I think we maybe want to give it a go with a little bit of water.
Definitely. I think it'd be fair to say with that as well that for a lower price point, we'll get to what the price point was. It's actually got good complexity of flavour. That is something that you generally do lose a little bit of when you go with the lower end whiskies, having that sort of mix of different flavours and the nose and everything mixing in well. This actually does quite well. No getting away from the fact that it is a little bit harsh.
It actually opens up the nose at the top.
Yeah, it does. There's a bit more there. Still very light, but
yeah.
That works really well.
Yeah. I think it needs more than a couple of drops on that one, because when it comes to that kind of fire at the back end,
that smooths it out.
Yeah, you really want something that's going to bring that down. Funnily enough, water quenches the fire.
Amazingly. Who would have thought?
But I would definitely do that. It's something you could probably sit with a couple of ice cubes in as well, I would say. Bring that temperature down a bit. Really release. Not something I mean, look, we're not fan of whiskey stones, but if you like them, this wouldn't be a whiskey I would put whiskey stones in, because cooling it down isn't going to do the same thing as the ice, where it's going to kind of quell that fire as well.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely want the water just to balance it out a little bit. It opens up the flavours to a certain degree and gives it just smooths everything out, makes everything a little bit nicer to drink. It's a good whiskey, and I think that when we do our scoring, we probably will do that on a price point. So it's only fair to compare it to things around its same mark, and it's going to go well, no question about that. But definitely a little bit of water on that one helps.
Oh yeah. Look, in terms of price point for that one, once again, in Australia, slightly higher. That one sits at base around $60, $70. On sale, that'll come down to like $40, $45, which is actually really, really good, because that's around the same sort of price as a Johnny Walker Black or something like that, which is seen to be a high-end whiskey, but, it's not.
And I think we're going to try to, wherever we can, give you some tips and insider advice on stuff that you maybe haven't heard of. Obviously, everyone knows of Johnny Walker, so we're probably not going to do too much Johnny Walker on this show, I wouldn't have thought.
No.
But yeah, I think for the price point on that and for the complexity of flavour, you probably got to knock a point or two off for the harshness, especially when you're trying to drink it.
But I think for me, it's one of those great base whiskies for things like, for a beginner, really great beginner whiskey.
Really good beginning whiskey.
And especially good, as much as the fire isn't always the best thing, it's a good thing to kind of get used to, because there will be some higher end whiskies out there
do the same thing.
Yeah, but they actually focus on balancing the flavors around that fire as well.
They do.
So good to get used to with something like that. Great for cocktails.
That would be a very good mixer. I was just thinking that.
Yeah, with the really nice sweetness. If you are going to mix it, soda water would really bring down that fire, but you would still get that. I mean, if you want to go something a bit sweet, maybe some lemonade, dry ginger ale.
I can see that working pretty well in an old fashioned as well.
Yeah, I think that would be good in an old fashioned,
Definitely.
in a Manhattan,
In a
sort of stuff
Manhattan,
like that. Although to be honest, we don't really make old fashions or Manhattans now that Starwood does the pre-mades, which is
we
future
definitely
episode.
will be doing those. Don't worry about that.
But for me, like in that low range price point, I would probably give that a 6.
Yeah, I think probably a 6 or a 7.
Yeah.
It's around that mark. We've got yet another one of our fine
This
whiskey
is,
connoisseurs.
Alfie, he has no idea what's going on, so that's great.
Loves a whiskey though.
Loves a whiskey.
Yeah, I think a 6 or a 7 is a fair score for that one. It is really good. Again, comparative to price point, it probably should be bumped up a little bit if you compare it to other $45 or $50 whiskeys when it's on sale. But we don't want to overset the expectations that you're going to buy a bottle of this and go, this is what I've been looking for my whole life with whiskey. So
maybe if you went for the Glenlivet Nastrozo range, maybe. But as like a good place to start, like if you want to start with like just a good cheap bottle of single malt on your cupboard, there's no reason to look past that.
I think you have to give that a little bit of credence as well. As a single malt, if you want to be a whiskey connoisseur, if you want to wear your tweed jacket and impress your whiskey drinking friends, a single malt from the Glenlivet range is always going to look pretty good. And not many people are going to assume, if they don't know, are going to assume that's a $60 whiskey. It's going to people will think it's a lot more expensive. So, good start.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, so second whiskey we are bringing to the table in this episode. Levi, what have you brought in?
I brought along a bottle of the Naked Grouse. So the Naked Grouse is from the house of the famous Grouse, which is a reasonably well-known Scottish distillery. It's a 40% blended whiskey from sherry casks from Highland Park and the Macallan Distillery. So
very
well
nice.
known.
We are fans of Macallan. Highland Park is something I've never really
I've definitely seen it. Definitely haven't.
We've had it at a whiskey live in passing, but
we've had that many whiskeys.
Exactly.
At whiskey live. There's a very good chance that we would have. This one has also managed to snag itself the double gold award at the San Francisco Spirit Awards. Now, I don't know how prestigious the San Francisco Spirit Awards are, but any award is worth noting, I think. So, we'll get to the price point on it, but this is a whiskey a little bit darker on the in viewing, obviously from the sherry casks. I think we've had this before. We were huge fans of it. At one of the festivals that we had it at. And then we actually just managed to drink this thinking that it was quite good, and then found out the price point nearly fell off our chairs. Yeah. So with that in mind...
Actually, there's a really good story because this whiskey came around at a Whiskey Live for us where we were both a little bit snobbish towards blended whiskies.
A little bit, yep.
But we only approached this because we just had a horrible experience at another table and we just needed to... we needed something to kind of take the flavour out of our mouth. There was no one else at this table.
At the distillery.
So we just went up to it, not expecting much. We just wanted something to get rid of the flavour of a different whiskey there.
And I think the way that this was presented, and you can see from the bottle, and we could see when we went up to the representative from the Naked Grouse, from the famous Grouse table, doing the Naked Grouse, it's just a really open, accessible, friendly whiskey. They're not trying to be too toffee. They're not trying to impress people. They're just like, this is what we do. You like it or you don't. You can take it or you can leave it. That was really disarming and certainly made us go, we should give this a go. Managed to actually have a sip of it, as we'll do now, and really enjoyed it. So, bottoms up.
And that was me forgetting to put my phone on silent. So, I love the nose on that.
It's a strong sherry.
A little bit of spice.
Yeah, a little bit spicy.
I mean...
Just a great flavour.
Yeah. Look, the benefit of a blend is always going to be they really do try to...
They can balance everything out.
So you don't get as much heat on the back. In fact, there's barely any heat
very,
on the
very
back
little
end.
on the back of that.
And that is just... it's a gorgeous colour. It's a good drink, sort of stuff like that.
I think it'd be fair to say, especially in comparison to the Glenlivet, it's pretty simple. I don't think it has quite the complexity of flavours. It's not sort of mixing in the sweet with some of the heat, with some of the pepper. This is just sort of got it's sweet, but
You've got a little bit of
plain.
sweet, but a little bit plain and sort of stuff. We'll see if water does anything. I don't think we're going to need a lot, though.
No, I don't think so. And to be fair to say, we should stress that plain is not necessarily a bad thing. It probably has negative connotations, but the truth of it is, if you are having a whiskey, especially a low price point whiskey, especially for beginners, having something that doesn't do too much crazy stuff in your mouth can be a really good thing.
Like food. Like, you don't want every single flavour to always be...
going at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Exactly. Sometimes you want something nicely balanced that's going to do that. Like a good burger.
That's that water opens up the sweetness on the nose
Oh,
too.
God, yes.
Almost smells like toffee.
And the spice as well. It's still there.
That's really good with a bit of water in it.
Oh, wow.
I didn't think that'd really work very well.
No,
with water, but
I didn't think water was going to work there.
That's just kicking it in the guts a little bit. I think.
Yeah.
That's
Wow.
So I think for me that opens up the sweetness a little bit, gives it I think a wider flavour profile. It's doing a bit more. It doesn't taste as simple this time to me.
No, there is definitely more complexity, and you actually start to feel that heat a little bit more with the water in there, like in the nasal passages and sort of stuff like that. Wow. Okay. Look.
We've never had that with water before, and we probably should have.
Levi and I will both admit we've never really practiced the drop of water as much as we do. Like most of the time when we've been drinking whiskey, we're out at events, and very few of them, only a very few of them will actually have pipettes at the table. But because you get generally 1 to 2 mouthfuls, most of the time you drink it before you bother to put any water in it. And when we're out at a whiskey bar or something like that, we always forget to ask for them to bring us water.
We do. It'd be fair to say as well, my preference is to always drink whiskey on the rocks. So if you're having it on the rocks, you're probably not going to put water in it as well.
And I will admit, I'm still a little bit uppy about making sure I drink all of my whiskeys neat. So you know what? Once again, the Naked Grouse has taught us a good lesson.
We've been found out.
But yeah, I am a big fan of that. Like it's a really good whiskey. I liked it going in, but God, that water is just...
It's great. So I guess this probably gives us, as much as you guys, a little bit of information that, and we did it the last time that we tried whiskies as well on the show, that having a little bit of water with all of your whiskies just to see what it does is definitely a worthwhile exercise. This one, in my opinion, really enhanced that. It's made it fantastic. Last time we did it with one of the whiskeys. The
Macallan worked really well, but the Hibiki took away that.
He took away the creaminess, I guess, of it. So that's worked really well. I think for me, so price point wise, that is currently $50 at Dan, and you can buy it for $50 at Dan anytime that you like.
Yep.
Amazingly, a little bit of research this morning. Masters of Malt has that online for $39.
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
Actually absurd. I don't even know what that compares to as a price point. I would think it's probably in your low end shivers.
Yeah, the only problem with Masters of Malt is their shipping. Like the shipping fees are quite high. So if you're going to do an order on Masters of Malt, buy a decent amount.
Yeah, stock yourself up. But it'd be fair to say that when it's on sale at most other places is probably going to be down around the $40-$45 mark. As I said, I think that at $40 that puts it in the range of your low end shivers, your Johnny, maybe a little bit more than a Johnny Red. I'm not
Johnny
sure
Red, yeah. Well, Johnny Red generally around $30-$35 for us.
So a little bit more than a Johnny Red.
But to be honest, spend the extra.
Yeah, if we could stress this strongly enough, for an extra $10, $15, maybe $20 on a bad day, that is absolutely worth its weight in gold. You will not regret doing that.
And that is definitely a whiskey that will change a lot of minds on blends for me as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is just absolutely gorgeous. We definitely highly recommend that. That'll work well with ice as well if you wanted to do it that way. But I really think that shines with just neat, little bit of water. You could mix it. I don't think you should.
Yeah, I don't think that you're going to get a whole lot from it. It doesn't have... It's not doing anything outrageous in terms of any of its individual flavour profiles that would lend it to a particular cocktail, and certainly there's no point mixing that with a soda water or with anything like that because it's doing.
I mean, it'd work, but there are other whiskies you would be better off to have in a cocktail, something with complex tasting notes or something with a lot more sweetness or spiciness to balance out in whatever cocktail.
Definitely.
But I just think that's something that's like, I don't understand. I think every whiskey drinker should have a bottle of that on their shelves, mainly because 1, it's good. 2, It's cheap.
At that price, why wouldn't you have a bottle of it at all times?
It's an everyday whiskey, really.
And it's for everyone too.
Yeah.
You could give that to anyone, people that don't drink whiskey, and they may not love it because some people just don't like whiskey,
Absolutely.
but they're not going to turn their nose up at it and throw it back in your face.
Like, nice, simple, and at the end of the day, that's what we're after. Sometimes something nice and simple.
Yeah. So scoring wise, for me, I think that's better than the Glenlivet personally.
I agree.
I reckon that's a 9, pushing a 9.5. For the price point, we can't compare that to a $300, $400 whiskey, but for the price
definitely
point,
a 9. Like, I would absolutely agree. Is this the way we're going to have to do it? So when we finally get around to building the website, we're going to have to...
Yeah, we'll rank everything, but then we'll have to have it broken up. I think if you're comparing it to much more expensive, much more complex, better whiskies, if you like, I think it probably holds its own. It's certainly not going to get blown out of the water, but against anything in a $40 price band, it's as good as anything that you're going to get there.
I would say better than anything.
Better than most, as good as some.
Yeah,
there's probably some other ones that are up there as well. But I'm saying I'll go with a 9.
I think a 9. I was thinking 8, but I think you're right. In that price point, it is a 9 because the flavor is amazing, and what you're getting from that blend is just...
It works so well.
It's so good. Like, very little fire, really nice sweetness, a little bit of spiciness, and just a smooth whiskey.
And amazingly, I think that it caters really well to beginners, people that don't drink a lot of whiskey, people that haven't drunk a lot of whiskey, and it also caters to people that drink a lot of whiskey. I'd be stunned. Some people may turn their nose up at a very simplified bottle, something that doesn't look as fancy as other whiskeys, but pour it, and your actual whiskey aficionados that love their whiskey, they're going to enjoy that.
I think for me, this is something maybe we'd cover in an episode, but I actually prefer whiskeys in a simpler bottle.
Yeah.
I would rather them spend the money on what goes into it, rather than the labeling and so on. I wouldn't say this is a simple bottle with the grouse inlay on the front. No, it's a grouse.
Are they not the same thing?
Maybe they are. Tell us in the comments.
We can research that ourselves as well. I think you're right. I mean, we've got a little display back here. There are a lot of different types of bottles. The Brookladdick that is doing some pretty crazy stuff. There's at the back with the Octomore. That's in the same boat. But for me, my wife always gets veto on most of the stuff that I buy. She likes it to be a very fancy bottle.
Yeah.
She didn't have a problem with that one. That one is on display. Maybe I'm underselling it, but. Bottom line, I think you pull that out for anybody, whether they drink whiskey or don't drink whiskey, and they're going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely something you should go out and buy, or at least give it a go first at a whiskey bar or something like that.
For sure. So, once again, we've come together, drunk some lovely whiskies.
Very good.
I think that what we might do now, and we might start doing this going forward, given that we're going to do 2 every time.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a comparison, not specifically a side-by-side, but we'll just quickly recap. If you were going to buy one of these whiskies, which one would you buy, and is it worth buying both?
Yeah.
So I think for me, I would say definitely worth buying both. The Glenlivet's fantastic. The Glenlivet just looks good sitting on a shelf as well. There's no getting away from whiskey is as much an aesthetic business as it is a tasting business.
Absolutely.
Having both on your shelf, you're not going to go wrong, especially at the price point.
They're going to fill different purposes.
Definitely. They are very different whiskies.
They are very different whiskies. And I think if you wait till you can get them on sale, you can pick both up for under $100.
Which is
I think that's
outrageous
ridiculous. Considering the level of quality just on that Naked Grouse alone, like, worth waiting till you see them on special. Glenlivet is on special quite often.
Yep.
Naked Grouse, like, even if you're paying full price, that's not the worst thing in the world.
No, it's not. It's not outrageous. So I think that for me personally, if you're going to buy one, I would be getting the Naked Grouse.
No, I completely agree. Like, I love the Glenlivet. I think it's such a great whiskey at that entry level, but it just does not compare. And I think, once again, don't worry about it being a blend. Like, in some cases, that is a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, at that price point as well, you're getting something really balanced, really smooth, and just an absolute pleasure to drink, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think that we can probably quite safely say the Naked is the winner of the show today, but there's no losers. They're both fantastic. Ev, what have we got coming up for our next episode?
So next episode is something a little bit exciting. We had something else planned. We were going to do Australian whiskies anyway, but we actually found the new Nant expressions pretty cheap somewhere. and we picked 2 of them up. So we're actually going to be covering both of those next episode.
It's a Nant extravaganza.
Exactly. Nant has been one of my favourite distillers since I first came across them, and Levi's as well. So we're really excited to talk about these new expressions. We have had them before.
We have.
But it's going to be nice to actually sit down and do them in detail. In the meantime, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you took something out of it as well. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Click that notification bell because we are going to be making sure we do these a little bit more regularly as well.
Going to be getting a little bit more content coming out.
So we'll have the next one up in 2 weeks' time on Monday at about 5 p.m. is where I'm going to aim to release it by. So hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.
And remember, keep your business whiskey. Thanks.